Hi guys, let's begin today's class which we introduced yesterday. तो हम यहाँ पे फोकस करेंगे एट बेसिक मैथ्स दैट इज गोइंग टू बी द ट्रांजिशनरी फेज फ्रॉम 10th टू 11th. ज़्यादातर स्टूडेंट्स को यही इशू आता है, 10th का लेवल ये होता है, 11th का लेवल ये हो जाता है. अब इस डिफरेंस ऑफ लेवल को सॉल्व करने के लिए वी आर गोइंग टू कवर how we are going to study from 10th level to the 11th level and understand the difference between the two concepts. So the topic is going to be basic maths, but we will also try to cover inequalities. एक बार हमें basic maths inequality समझ में आ जाएगा, that will be sufficient in order to understand how to answer the questions of JEE mains or any other competitive examination that you may be attempting. Most important thing which you must remember is that जब भी आप solution लिखते हो ना, you have to write the solution set in more than 70% of the questions while using the concepts of inequalities. Either it is trigonometry or complex number or any other topic for that matter. The answer has to be written in the form of sets or something that we are going to study in inequalities. Let's start the topic with the concept of sets. If I am trying to understand the difference between two kinds of sets, first we need to understand what is a set. Set by its very definition means a well defined collection of any item, entity, member or any other thing. अगर मैं बोलता हूँ द सेट ऑफ इंडियन स्टेट्स और उस सेट में मैं बोल देता हूँ मध्य प्रदेश, उत्तराखंड, दिल्ली, हिमाचल प्रदेश, then that is not a set because it is not well defined. Definition में हमने कहा था Indian states, but what are we talking about? We are talking about a city. We are talking about a union territory, that is Delhi, the capital of the country. In order to resolve that problem, now we are going to create a normal set that is going to be well defined and all the element उस definition को satisfy करेंगे जिसकी हम बात कर रहे हैं. That is उत्तराखंड, उत्तर प्रदेश, मध्य प्रदेश. Now this is the set of Indian states क्योंकि इसमें कोई city या फिर union territory नहीं आ रही है. Let's talk about the difference between discrete and continuous. सबसे पहले समझते हैं discrete का क्या मतलब हो जाता है. Let's say मैं आपसे पूछता हूँ what is the number of family members. अब किसी के लिए 3 हो सकता है आंसर, किसी के लिए 4 हो सकता है, किसी के लिए 5 हो सकता है. लेट्स चेक द कमेंट्स इफ एनीवन हैज आंसर्ड. ओके, मे बी आपके फैमिली में 3 मेंबर्स हों या 4 हों या 5 हों. द आंसर विल नेवर बी 3.1 और 4.7. इट हैज़ टू बी अ होल नंबर. It has to be a whole number, it has to be 3, it has to be 4 or something like that. It cannot be in fraction or in decimals. So अगर हमें इस टाइप के सेट को लिखना है then we are going to write curly braces and then we will write either 3 or 4 or 5 और किसी की joint family है 6. This is the way to represent a discrete set. Now let's focus at continuous set. If I'm talking about a continuous class interval, let's say आपकी क्लास में there are 50 students. कुछ की हाइट 5 फीट से ज़्यादा है, कुछ की हाइट 5.1 फीट है, कुछ की 5.2 फीट है, कुछ की 5.5 फीट है, किसी की 5.51 फीट है. अब यहाँ पे वेरिएशंस चलती रहेंगी, कोई भी कॉन्टिन्यूस वैल्यू ही एग्जिस्ट कर सकती है. देर इज नो पॉसिबिलिटी कि हाइट 5.1 फीट हो, कि हाइट 5.2 फीट ही हो. ऐसा भी हो सकता है किसी की हाइट 5.15 फीट हो. इन ऑर्डर टू एक्सप्लेन दैट वी हैव टू क्रिएट अ कॉन्टिन्यूस सेट. उसे मैं कैसे लिखूंगा? लेट्स से देयर इज अ वेरिएबल जिसकी वैल्यू वेरी कर रही है फ्रॉम 5 फीट टू 6 फीट. तो हम अगर कॉन्टिन्यूस सेट को लिखना चाहते हैं वी आर गोइंग टू राइट अ क्लोज्ड इंटरवल 5 to 6. इसका मतलब होता है वी आर गोइंग टू इंक्लूड 5 एज वेल एज 6 इन दिस सेट. अब यहाँ पे हम अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे हाउ टू राइट इंटरवल्स. इंटरवल्स हमारे बेसिकली दो तरीके के होते हैं. वन इज अ क्लोज्ड इंटरवल एंड द अदर इज अ ओपन इंटरवल. इसे याद रखने के लिए हम इनके वर्ड्स यूज करते हैं. इफ आई टॉक अबाउट अ क्लोज्ड इंटरवल, क्लोज्ड इंटरवल का मतलब होता है आई एम गोइंग टू यूज स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट्स. Square brackets are drawn like this, and for open interval we use parentheses. Parentheses are written in this format, that is a semicircle. Now square brackets are representing closed interval whereas parenthesis is representing an open interval. अब हमें एक चीज याद रखनी होती है, closed अगर मैं कहता हूँ closed interval इसका मतलब है जो भी extreme points हैं they are going to be included. Let's talk about this number line and I say that the value is going to vary from 5 to 6. इसका मतलब है वैल्यू 5 और 6 दोनों हो सकती हैं. So this is included and this is also included. So the shaded portion will be my interval. That is including 5 and including 6 which is representing this interval. अब क्योंकि वैल्यू 5.1, 5.15, 5.16, 5.17 कुछ भी हो सकती है. All these values such as 5.1, 5.17, various values would be present between these extremities. And when I'm talking about a closed interval, that means the value 5 as well as the value 6 ये दोनों भी included होंगी. But अगर हम बात करते हैं open interval की, अब open interval में there is another case. If I write over here an open interval का मतलब होता है I'm going to use parenthesis to write the two numbers. Now I have written 5, 6 in open interval. Over here it was mentioned in closed interval. Now if I'm writing it in open interval, let's try to visualize the number line. यहाँ पे है 5, यहाँ पे है 6. Open interval का मतलब है 5 is not included, 6 is not included. If I have to explain it in language, then I'll say that all the values between 5 and 6 are included. Between का मतलब होता है दो के बीच में. We are not going to include 5, we are not going to include 6. The reason is quite simple. क्योंकि हमने between बोला है. Between का मतलब है इसके और इस वाले के बीच की values. So there is no point of including, or there is no point of including the two values 5 and 6. So finally the answer will be the shaded portion between the values 5 and 6. Okay. Now let's focus at the next concept, that is going to be union, intersection and subtraction. ये concepts आपने 6th class में पढ़े होंगे. Let's revise them quickly so that we can move forward. Union of two sets. If I talk about a set A and another set B, these are Venn diagrams, that is visual representation of two sets. If I have to visually represent the set A, I'm going to write 2 over here, 4, 6, 8. Let's write it as A is a set comprising of 2, 4, 6, 8. और B क्रिएट करते हैं दूसरा सेट, दैट इज 2, 3, 5, 7. सो B इज अ सेट दैट कंप्राइजेज ऑफ 2, 3, 5, 7. अब सेट A में एलिमेंट्स है 2, 4, 6, 8. सेट B में एलिमेंट्स है 2, 3, 5, 7. इफ आई हैव टू टॉक अबाउट यूनियन ऑफ द टू सेट्स, यूनियन का मतलब होता है इफ आई एम राइटिंग A यूनियन B, इट इम्प्लाइज एलिमेंट्स either in A or in B or in both. अगर टेक्निकल डेफिनेशन पूछी जाए, then A union B refers to all the elements and those only which are either present in A or in B or in both, that is A and B. So A union B refers to all those elements and only those elements which are present either in A or in B or in both of them. So if I have to write the elements of A union B, I'm going to write them as 2, 4, 6, 8, 3, 5, 7. Let's write them in ascending order. So it becomes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 is also included. So this will be the set representing A union B. That is all the elements that fall under the sets A and B. If I have to represent that, then I'll use a shaded portion. This will be the shaded portion representing A union B. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is intersection. Intersection, as we all have studied till class 10th, it means when two lines are intersecting, they are going to intersect at a point. This point is common to the two. Let's say these are my two lines, they are intersecting at this point. This point is common to the two. Both these lines are going to pass through the point at which they are intersecting. They are passing through the point at which they are intersecting. That means it is the common point. If I have to talk about the common element, जो इसमें भी है और इसमें भी है, दोनों सेट्स में कॉमन एलिमेंट यहाँ पे 2 दिख रहा है. So if I talk about intersection, I'll write A intersection B is equal to the common element which is 2. अगर आप observe करेंगे, I've written the first 4 positive even integers, I've written the first 4 prime numbers. इन दोनों में the common element is only 2. So I'm going to write 2 over here to represent the intersection portion. The third point is subtraction. Let's try to understand what does that mean. Again, I'll take the same example since it was a good one. So A comprises of elements 2, 4, 6, 8. B is also comprising elements 2, 3, 5, 7, just like the previous case. So A can be written as 2, 4, 6, 8. And B can be written as 2, 3, 5 along with 7. Now if I'm talking about subtraction, subtraction can be written as A minus B. But the thing we must remember is A and B are not numbers. A और B numbers तो है नहीं, तो this minus sign is not the same as 3 minus 2 is equal to 1. वो minus अलग है. This is just a symbol representing the difference between two sets. दो sets हैं, एक है set A comprising of 2, 4, 6, 8. एक set है set B comprising of 2, 3, 5, 7. दोनों sets में different elements हैं. अगर मैं लिखता हूँ A minus B, इसका मतलब होता है एलिमेंट्स एक्सक्लूसिव टू ए, एलिमेंट्स विच आर एक्सक्लूसिवली प्रेजेंट इन ए, दैट इज एलिमेंट्स एक्सक्लूसिव टू ए. It can be simply understood as elements which are in A and not in B, जो सिर्फ A में है और B में नहीं है. So I'll write elements only in A and not in B. तो ऐसे एलिमेंट्स जो सिर्फ A में आते हैं और B में नहीं आते उन्हें हम लिखते हैं A माइनस बी. सो अगर मैं बोलूँगा B माइनस A, इसका मतलब हो जाएगा एलिमेंट्स इन B दैट आर नॉट इन A. दैट मीन्स एलिमेंट्स एक्सक्लूसिवली प्रेजेंट इन B. दैट मीन्स एक्सक्लूसिव टू B, जो सिर्फ B में है और A में प्रेजेंट नहीं है. लेट्स राइट डाउन द एलिमेंट्स A माइनस B. So A minus B is a set that will comprise of only those elements which are present in A, that is the vertical shaded portion, which will be 4, 6 and 8. Elements only in A and which are not present in B. इसको हम कह सकते हैं those even first 4 even numbers which are not prime. अब if I have to write, what will be B minus A, that means elements exclusively present to B. Exclusively present to B मतलब ये inclined shaded portion. This means all those elements which are only present in B and not present in A, which is 3, 5, 7. These two represent the difference of two sets. अब यहाँ तक कर ही लिया है, then let's focus at another topic that is known as symmetric difference. Just a minute. Okay, if I'm talking about symmetric difference, then in order to understand symmetric difference, we must be clear with the difference of two sets. If I talk about A minus B, that is the vertical shaded portion. If I talk about B minus A, that's the inclined shaded portion. But if I'm talking about the symmetric difference, it's written as plus inside a circle or minus inside a circle or uppercase delta. These are symmetric difference of A and B. If these are the two symmetric difference of A and B, this means elements exclusively present in A, elements exclusively present in B, but those elements will not be included that are present in both of them. So if I have to write about this, I am going to say all the elements exclusively in A, that is 4, 6, 8, all the elements which are exclusively in B, that is 3, 5, 7. This can also be written as universal set. This can also be written as the universal set, excluding the elements which are common. Now the element common is 2, so I can write it as A intersection B. So I'm going to consider two sets. One set is the universal set. If I'm talking about the universal set, then all the elements are automatically included. But if I'm talking about intersection, that is only the common element. When I'm saying universal minus intersection, that means all the elements are included except those which are common. So all the elements जो दोनों में आ रहे हैं यानी कि यूनियन में except the common ones. So it can be written as A set A minus B, that is the elements exclusive to A, union set B minus A, that is the elements exclusive to B which are not present in A. So this thing, so what we were talking is symmetric difference. Symmetric difference of two sets can be written as A minus B union B minus A. Now let's move on to the next one. And let's try to understand the various number systems that we are going to study. The topmost is going to be real numbers. In real life, the numbers which we use fall under the category of real numbers. They encompass everything in the real world. Every number that you may have heard of or ever used in mathematics is going to come under the category of real numbers. Now, real numbers are divided into two parts. The first is a rational number, and the second is an irrational number. Now, rational numbers are those which can be expressed in the form of ratio. As you may observe, there is a word ratio present over here. This ratio means if a number can be written in the form of ratio, that is to say P upon Q. If any number can be expressed in this form, P upon Q, where the highest common factor of both P and Q is 1. That is, इनका कोई common factor नहीं है except 1. Then the number can be called a rational number. The symbol for rational number is Q and the symbol for irrational number is Q bar. Let's try to focus at the rational numbers first. Rational numbers अगर एक ratio के form में लिखे जा सकते हैं, then 1 upon 2 is a rational number, 2 upon 1 is a rational number. But the difference between both of them is that 1 upon 2 is a fraction, since it is written in the form of numerator upon denominator, and the answer is going to come in the form of a decimal. So this is a fraction, and as we have studied, fractions are of various types: proper fraction, improper fraction, mixed fraction. Whereas in this case, 2 upon 1, what is this? This is an integer. So we are going to further divide rational numbers into two categories, and the two categories are going to be fractions, and the other category is going to be integers. As you all know, integers can be written as -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, -3, either continuously, either continuously. They both are going to extend in positive direction to plus infinity. It is also going to extend in negative direction, that is to negative infinity. Fractions, as we just covered, they are two numbers that which are written in the format of numerator upon denominator. I hope it's clear till here. If you have any doubts, please post them in comments. Okay, let's move forward. We have covered till integers. Now we are going to divide these into other formats. Integers are of either positive or negative along with 0. If I'm talking about positive integers, then there is a special term to denote the positive integers, that is natural numbers. As we all know, if I ask you to count, how are you going to count? The counting is going to begin from 1, obviously. If I ask you to count the number of students in your class, you're going to start the counting from 1, 2, 3, and so on. If I ask you to count the number of pens you have, you're going to start the counting from 1. So it's quite obvious that naturally we begin the counting by the number 1. So natural numbers are those which start from 1 and go on till infinity. If I include 0 in natural numbers, then it is known as a whole number, the set of whole numbers. The trick to remember it is that whole, the word comprises of o in between. So the numbers are going to comprise of 0. 0 and o look similar, and whole contains o. So the set of numbers will include 0 into it. Now if I talk about all these together, they fall under the category of integers. Now integers and fractions are done. We are done with natural whole numbers. Now let's focus at irrational numbers. Irrational numbers are those which are non-terminating, numbers which are non-terminating and non-recurring. If these numbers do not terminate anywhere, let's talk about under root 2. The number is 1.414 and it goes on forever. The numbers are not going to repeat themselves, the numbers are not going to terminate. In that case, we call it an irrational number. और हमें बहस के टाइम पे भी याद है इर्रेशनल का मतलब क्या होता है. इर्रेशनल का मतलब होता है जो सेंसलेस बात कर रहा है, जिसकी बातों में कोई तुक ना हो. उसी तरीके से हम याद रख सकते हैं, इफ द नंबर इज गोइंग ऑन सच एज 1.414 और रूट 3 इज 1.732, दीज नंबर्स गो ऑन फॉर एवर. इनमें कोई सेंस नहीं है अगला नंबर क्यों आ रहा है, उसके अगला वाला क्यों आ रहा है. देयर इज नो रीजन. That is the reason why they are known as irrational numbers. It's beneficial to remember these values. Root 5 will be 2.236. Root 7 will be 2.645. Root 6 will be 2.449. And so on. So now we are done with irrational numbers. If we just want to understand how are these irrational numbers created, let's have a look at the number line. Let's say this is the number line. I have a point 1, I have another point 2, and I create a vertical line whose length is 1. If this distance is 1, this length is 1, what will be the length of hypotenuse? The length of hypotenuse is going to be 1 square plus 1 square, the whole under root, which will be root 2. Now if I place a compass at the point 1 and the pencil at this point, and I make an arc, the arc is going to cut the number line somewhere over here. The length root 2 will be the same over here, which will be root 2. This point will be 1. This length will be 1.414, and since I'm going to elongate it from 1, so the total length is going to be 1.414 plus 1, which is accounted from 0. So we are going to call it 2.414. Now, if we have to consider what is 2.414, it is going to be an irrational number. Since this distance was 1, this distance was also 1. Now, the length of root 2 came out to be 1.414. The counting started from 1, so I have to add 1 to it. So, the final answer will become 2.414, and it is going to be an irrational number because the digits are not going to terminate, they are not going to repeat themselves. Now, let's try to calculate some other values. Let's say there is a rational number 3.4555. X is equal to 3.4555, and it goes on forever. It is non-terminating, but it is recurring because the last digit 5 is continuously repeating. If it is continuously repeating, I'll say 10x can be written as 34.555. As we can see, the variable x means 3.4555. Let's say I'm subtracting these two numbers. On LHS, I'll get 9x. On RHS, I'm going to get, these all will cancel each other. Over here, I'll get 0.1, and over here, I'll get 31. So I can say x is equal to 311 divided by 90. Since this number can be written in the form of P upon Q, so we call it a rational number, that is 3.455. It satisfies a definition that the number is non-recurring. The number is non-terminating but recurring because it is repeating, so it falls under the category of rational numbers. Let's try to solve the next one, that is 1.999, and by this I'll try to explain another concept. If I say that there is a number x equals 1.999 and it is non-terminating but it is recurring, since the digit 9 is continuously repeating, in order to solve it, I'll write 10 times x is equal to 19.999 and so on. Let's subtract the two digits. On LHS, I'll get 9x, and on the RHS, these terms and these terms are going to cancel each other. So finally, I'll get 18. So I can say x is equal to 2. But as you remember, we started from this. That is 1.999, and the answer is coming as 2. So the beauty of mathematics is that whenever you write a number such as 1.9 bar, when the 9 is continuously repeating itself, as we just saw, this number is equivalent to 2. In the next class, we are going to cover as to why 1.9 bar and 2 mean the same thing. Why we cannot find a number that is just greater than a number. Why it is impossible to find a number just smaller than a fixed number. To discuss those topics, log on tomorrow at the same time. Thank you.